Ordinarily on WarriorCast, we have coaches, administrators, and student athletes having in-depth, insightful conversations, kind of give you an idea about what goes on in the department. A lot of stories and a lot of different situations. But student athletes are hard to come by because they're busy. But today, we have not only a student athlete, we had 3 of them, and 3 of the most well-known men's volleyball players to ever come through the program. Now, let's have a conversation. Rado, Pat, Colton, welcome to WarriorCast, gentlemen.
I guess a good starting point would be just this year in general, is how has everything gone for the 3 of you and the camaraderie of this entire season that is unlike any other? How's that been so far?
The camaraderie is definitely like a little bit better this year. Like last year, me, Rado, and Colton all had to like step in as like leaders, and like we didn't really know exactly how to do that, like without all of our classmates that left the year previously. But now we had like that whole year under our belt, and we were able to like kind of know like what the team needed at certain times and what they didn't need. Like we didn't need to like be the front runners at all times and like let like the younger guys kind of take off a little bit.
Full honesty. Did everybody fit in that role? Did you guys like sitting in that kind of leadership role?
No. I personally don't. I don't think so. Last year, I took it more of a, I'm not going to talk, I'm just going to play. Like, I'll take care of on the court. Probably the best thing that happened to me this year is that my English level improved. So people can understand me what I say. Some of them understand what I say, which is good. I can communicate with them even better.
Yeah, I think at times last year we were forced to be a little more stern than I think all of us are more accustomed to. I think playing like that bad cop role for most of us was maybe a little bit unnatural at times, especially because we're just kind of there trying to enjoy most of our senior year, and when you get caught up in some of the mistakes that freshmen or younger players typically make that we've all made in the past, like you don't want to necessarily reprimand for that. Like you want them to learn, but you don't want to always have to crack down on them. So I think for us as leaders this year, having that kind of trial that last year was, I guess, so to speak, it was good being in the position that we are this year. It's been good.
Just out of curiosity, and Rado, you mentioned that it's not your natural state of being that quote-unquote leader type. Do you guys kind of like look at each other, like whenever you're trying to fit that role and go, that's not really him, but he's trying? Like, does that ever happen? Do you ever give each other a hard time about it?
100%, yeah.
All right, we need examples. Yeah. We need examples.
I don't know. Basically, whenever Rado makes a comment at practice, like about accountability, and like I'll just like look at him and be like, oh.
The face is like, why are you talking like? That's kind of like sounds like.
There's been a few instances where one of us will definitely crack down on someone, and then it's followed usually by like looking in one of our directions and like a wink or something, like knowing that we've made the same mistake before. And it just seems kind of funny that we're now the ones getting to be all, I guess, high and mighty or in that position of power, knowing that we've definitely done it all.
Repeating Joe Worsley.
Quoting Joe Worsley is very important.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Joe for a second. And the only reason why I bring this
stand up.
The only reason I bring it up is because we had Coach Charlie on the podcast months ago, and he talked about before Joe and after Joe. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever heard that or not come from him. Yeah, that's how he put it.
About what?
BJ and AJ.
Before Joe, after Joe. Yeah.
I get it.
So he made that reference. And if you see on the court, you kind of understand it. But what did he mean by that? Like, how big of an impact did that one guy have on this program?
I wasn't here before BJ. I was doing here AJ. I mean, I think he did, if I have to be serious, he did like had a huge impact on what we did 2019 and kind of set up where we are right now. Fortunately, I cannot say everything on camera, but yeah. Holding us accountable.
I don't think you could ever question his work ethic. He was committed to doing everything right that he could control. And I think he followed instruction really well. He definitely embraced that leadership role. And he definitely had his moments where he was being a fun guy and stuff, but when it came down to like competition and whatnot, there was no BS from that guy ever. It was always focus, 100% attention.
So I have a special relationship with Joe because I played club with him.
Okay.
2 years before I came to Hawaii. And that dude did not change a single bit from the age of like 14 to like 23. Like he is all business all the time. Like when it comes to volleyball, it's like there's no joking around. Like the only one that's allowed to joke around is Gage, and Gage gets punched in the face for it. So
Yeah. We really thought that Gage can bring what Joe does, but no, we got the worst brother. Gage is no.
Well, okay, let's talk about Gage for a second.
Awesome, yeah.
So, okay, what can be said about Gage?
He's special.
Special good, special bad?
it's a good special.
He's
It's
a good
special.
He is a special human.
He has a ability to bring like light into like just
The
a
darkest corners of
yeah
the earth.
like it's not even like what he says. It's just like more like watching him just walk around.
Yeah.
Just like a clown show.
And it's always laughing at him or laughing with him. But you're always laughing.
The fact how we can switch, for me, it's the craziest thing ever. He constantly jokes 24/7 until like something serious comes up, like Saturday game, Long Beach, when he kind of came close. He switched into everything, like you did this, and then he goes crazy and gets career high kill.
That's Joe possessing him.
Yeah, that's
He's
Joe.
possessed by
Yeah.
Joe on that. Yeah, probably.
You guys don't know that's actually Roger.
Oh, Roger.
Yeah, Roger.
Roger.
Yeah, and
Explain.
the dog.
Joe's
Roger's
dad. Joe and
Joe,
Gage's
yeah.
dad.
If you want
Yeah.
to go to the third Worsley, there's Roger.
So how much of an impact has that one family had on you guys in the program?
Well, that family like shaped my abilities as a middle. Like I wasn't that good growing up, and then they like Roger taught me how to like read block, be faster, just be an overall more efficient middle, and yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the impact of Joe and Gage and that entire family, and we've talked about kind of that leadership role that you guys have taken on this year. And last year was kind of a precursor to that. But let's look back at last year and when everything kind of happened. Because from the time the season was stopped in March to all the decision-making that happened afterwards, there's a lot in there. So let's go back to, you guys were on the road, right? I want to say you were at Northridge.
Yeah. Same place we're going on Wednesday.
Yeah. So when you look at that time frame and how everything kind of happened, can someone walk us through exactly that day when you heard that the season was coming to an end and what was going through your heads?
I remember getting on the flight to go to Northridge, and like we're seeing like COVID activity like all over the planet, and, like things are being shut down. And we land and we look at our phones, and it's like NBA has been shut down. We're just like, oh my gosh, like how much longer are we gonna last? And then like the next morning, I just remember running into Charlie's walking past me as I'm walking to like our meeting spot, and he's just like, we're done. I'm like, oh, I don't know what that means. Like, so I walk up, meet up with the rest of the team, and he's like, well, season's over. Good job. We won our last game. And I was like, oh. And I honestly didn't know like what to feel. Like it was just like such a shock that like we were just going to practice, and like now we had to like go home the next day. And I distinctly remember that being like the longest day I've ever really felt like that day just like never ended.
What was going through your head that entire day? Like, did you have a moment to like just be by yourself and think it through, or were you around everybody pretty much the entire day? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, we all had like our moments of silence, and we all like got in a room together, and like we're just like sitting there like no one talking. It was weird. Like usually we're a pretty talkative group, and like there was just complete silence, and everyone's in their own head. And like the big thing for me was like, wow, like I'm not gonna experience like that last game in the stand feeling, like that like senior night feeling, and like to like say goodbye and like cry in front of the stands. Like, who's that sign? Sign cred?
Yeah, Stein
cred.
Like I think a lot of the guys, to be honest.
So when that happened, when you guys are kind of in the moment, did you think, like you just said, Pat, that it's over? Like you can't come back? Like the senior season, the run to a national championship, all that is done? Or was there something in the back of your head going, this isn't right, everything's going to work out?
I was pretty at this is it. Like, we're done. We're pal. I didn't hear about the NCAA decision to like bring the seniors back to later, and I didn't even like think it as like a possibility. So when Josh texted me about that, I was like, oh, yeah, we'll see. Like, there's hope.
Rado, what were you thinking that day?
I remember, yeah, same thing. We were on the flight. I think we were on the flight when I actually found out. I don't remember. It was Tuesday. We flew on Tuesday. I was still hyped out of that last game. Basically, we were thinking that this is it. And then Wednesday morning, we were supposed to go to practice. And yeah, we were walking to meet, to watch video. And then, like, this is it. We're done. I remember we were just in a huge room. And then Charlie just starts talking, like, NBA got canceled, they canceled us. No, I remember the NBA got postponed, we got canceled. And the first thing I had in my head was like the time did fly by. It was, because I remember the day I came, and now this is it. And just kind of, for a second I felt sad because I don't think I did everything I could.
What was the sad part? Was it the fact that your time was done? Was the fact that you had a great team that could win a national championship and now you don't? Were you fearful of the whole COVID situation? Like, what was...
The fear of Sapa was like, you always hear that, don't take anything for granted because it can be taken away from you without you realizing it. And most of the time you think to yourself, that will not happen to me, you know? And when it actually happens, and you cannot do anything about it, knowingly that that's the right decision, something's happening and that no one has control over, and sports is not a solution at this moment, you're just like, I cannot say anything about it because it's the right decision. And can't blame anyone because I've played 3 seasons already. Like, I can't go around and say, oh, this is my year. No, I had 3 chances so far.
Colton, on that day when everything happened, do you remember the conversations that you were having with teammates?
Yeah, mostly just hugs, I would think. There wasn't a whole lot of verbal communication. It was a pretty sad moment for our team. And at that point, just realizing that it was a very finite number of, or potentially finite number of days that I was going to have left with this group of guys, it was really hard to process. There was always in the back of my mind, and I thought that they'd extend our eligibility because I don't know, I think that may have just been my brain being stubborn. But I had a feeling that we weren't done, and I really wanted to win that national championship with this group. I know that was our goal that we set out to do, and I know that like both of them said that when you well, not necessarily that it was taken for granted, but you just failed to prepare for something that you can't ever really prepare for, like a pandemic, a global pandemic. It's difficult to process something like that, and there's no way of really preparing for it. There's no way to process those emotions correctly. It just is. And it really put things in perspective that if there was going to be another opportunity coming our way to focus on what we could control and move from there.
I'm glad you brought that up because the decision from everyone to come back virtually. So did you all have a conversation amongst yourselves, or did you have a conversation just with Charlie and individually, or was it a conversation just to yourself, I'm coming back? How did all of that come into play? Because all 3 of you were different parts of your life. I mean, Rado, you're considered one of the best players in the country and a very highly touted possible pro. You have all these different situations that all of you were in. So was there a collective agreement, or was it all individual thoughts in the process?
I wouldn't have come back without these two.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And of course, 99-cent story and all those things.
Okay. So you wouldn't come back without these two. So was there a conversation between the 3 of you? Like, we're doing this together?
Yes. There was just a group text. It was pretty short.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a long message. It was just, hey, are you guys coming back? I think it was like, and we were like, yes, if the variables that need to get worked out. At that time, it was figuring out school and academics, and then financially, just paying for another year.
Yeah.
Then sure.
I think one of the things that impacted my decision was this text from Stein we all got. about why he would stay and like the impact that COVID was going to have on like the pro circuit and like how much money each team will have. Then I talked to like Capono and some other friends that I've played that play international ball, and like basically everyone told me like I'm given another opportunity to get a master's and play and stand for another year. Like, kind of be dumb not to, right?
So the positives outweigh any negatives.
100%.
Yeah. And then Rado and Colton said they were coming back too, and I was like, all right, shoots.
It's made it easier.
Actually, I think it went Colt, me, and then Rado.
Yeah, you get to fix your mistakes basically. You get like to repeat a year with having information about the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that like joke, that like question people get sometimes, like, would you go back to like when you were like 14 with all the knowledge you have now? And we get to just like go back to 2020 knowing everything about ourselves and about our leadership skills and stuff and how we can impact the team.
How much has changed? You talk about knowing that now. Like, how did anything change for you in the last year in terms of that?
I just feel more comfortable, like in the role that I play, and like knowing like what to expect and what not to expect, and like I would just say I'm more comfortable like playing alongside like Rado and Colton without Joe. Yeah.
Rado?
I feel more confident in myself and in my team. I mean, even if you guys look at the games, like Pat's face or my like stiff frustration, we are like down and like we're about to lose the game, and you can see our faces just like, it's okay, don't worry about it. Because like those been years that I remember. Actually, funny story. We were playing UCLA here, and it's 1-1, and I think we were up 1970 or something. And Micah serves out, and the ball hits me on the way.
Yeah.
Ball hits me, goes out, and you can see his face out.
Yeah.
He gets happy because the ball goes out. The next, he sees me get it hit, and he sees his face out. Like, those things that don't exist anymore. Now we're confident in ourselves now. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
If that happened now, I'd just laugh at him.
Yeah.
It could be like 24 all. I'd still laugh at him.
So it sounds like to me that 2021 is that year where you're just taking all of it in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not worried about things. You're not worried about the future. You're not worried about class per se. I mean, you're doing your thing. But 2021 is a year, you know what? Let's just enjoy it. Is that the vibe I'm catching?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think like the pressure of the record that we've maintained thus far and just how well we've performed, I think the pressure is we've kind of just embraced it and we've recognized that it's more of a privilege than anything. But we're not taking it. It doesn't ever really break us down. Like, it doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter if we're down one set. We have a habit of it looks like dropping that first set on night one pretty often. But at the end of the day, it's like we really are embracing these opportunities to play. And we're definitely embracing just getting these experiences with each other, I think, which has been the most fun. We just have a lighter presence on the court, and I think that's even more intimidating to teams, knowing that when you're playing against a team with a bunch of talent that can also enjoy themselves on the court and not have to look super strained or strenuous. Like, you can't put pressure on a team like that. You can't break down a team like that because they're just going to come at you all night long.
What about you specifically? You're coming off an injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're coming off like where you didn't want your career to end on that note, and like going off of an injury. Like, how much more does it mean to you now that you have that other chance?
Oh, it meant everything. I was doing things in the weight room that were pretty much just feeding my ego in 2020. They weren't going to translate to volleyball. They weren't going to help me emotionally, mentally, physically at all. And so given the fact that I got another opportunity to return and just cut that out of my life and focus more on training that was going to supplement my sport performance was great. And I just got to enjoy it more. I get to spend a little more time actually enjoying being here in Hawaii and enjoying the people around me versus just, spending it in the gym doing things that aren't going to be as productive.
And I know we've kind of answered this question in a way, but you both, Pat and Rado, you guys had chances to go pro. I mean, if you've already kind of addressed it, you talked to Stein, kind of did that. But at the same time, like, you look at, like, Pat, your major that you have accomplished is highly regarded a very hard degree to get.
Thank you.
And so I have to imagine you, even though you want to win a national title, even though you want to play with these guys, there's still that voice in the back of your head of going, should I have left? Should I go? Should I try to make money? Like, did that ever really creep in that much?
Yeah, a lot. So I actually got a job over summer as a project engineer for a construction company. I was working over at Schofield Barracks, and I got to work 7 to 2, something like that. I got to make adult money, and that was making more money than I ever made before, basically. A lot of fun.
So you seriously put I mean this in the most respectful way, but you put your adulthood on hold for basically a year.
Basically, yeah. So, making that decision to come back and like telling my boss, I'm like, hey, so that thing that I said might happen, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And he's like, but they were really cool about it. They're like, oh, well, if not, you have online classes, so like let's just do like part time for now until like we need someone full time, then we'll let you go and get someone full time. And like I got to like help train the next person coming in, and I'm still a really good relationship with them. And actually, the home office for that company is in Fresno, my hometown. So like everything kind of like worked out really well, and like we still keep in touch. And like he asked me if I like know any like upcoming engineers that like need a entry level job, and basically said like once I'm like ready to get back in the workforce, to give him a call. But like obviously I have made plans to go like play pro at this point. Nothing's set in stone, but I feel like given like this opportunity of being like I can go travel the world and like make money, and I can maybe go see Rado's homeland. What village you live in?
Fight some bears.
Hold on, let's not get ahead of ourselves yet. I want to get into that in a second. But kind of the same question, Rado. I mean, you had the opportunity to go make money. I know, like we talked about, you had other conversations with other pros, like, hey, here's how it's all going to break down. May want to wait. But I imagine that voice is still in your head. Am I right?
Actually, no. I believe that I made the right decision, and I doubted for a little bit, but I think after the first game, going to Irvine this year, like all that doubt is gone. I knew that I made the right decision. I see that master's program that I am. Just to clarify, my degree is way more harder than Pat's. I'm a business major.
I think definitely the hardest thing was just the fact that the preseason was really long this year, without any competition other than inter-squad participation, and I think we definitely benefited. We definitely benefited from having the preseason duration as long as it did. I think we've shown that when we step onto the court against teams, we're a little bit ahead, maybe in some cases way further ahead than most programs are, simply because we had more time to practice and to really develop a system that was going to work this year. But I think, like Rado mentioned, definitely like the professional opportunities, they're going to stay there. And given the fact that the market was not good in Europe going into this year, I think that once we stepped onto the court for the first time, once again wearing a Hawai'i jersey, and we were able to play and compete, it kind of reminded us that, yeah, this is definitely what we were meant to do. We're meant to be here. We're meant to win the Big West tournament. We're meant to win a national championship. We want all that.
Last question I want to ask on that topic particularly of trying to make the decision to come back. Were you hearing from the fans? Or anybody reaching out to you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So a lot of that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever respond to it?
I'll say yes.
Yeah. Most I would just say like thanks for the support. Like, I was actually this family that in Papakolea that I was like helping volunteer with like Meals on Wheels. They were like really pressuring, not like pressuring, but like they're like hey, like if you come back and like you got all of Papakolea behind you, and I was like, oh man, like how can I refuse that?
Yeah.
Like,
And see, that was what I was getting to, was like how much did that help? Like, because let's be honest, the game of men's volleyball, Hawaii special.
yeah.
There's no place else like this state that support men's volleyball, because in a lot of ways, and I'm not trying to boast egos here, you guys are kind of rock stars in a way. You're all three very popular, all three very well known, as Rado. So
No, stop, please.
but don't stop. Keep it going, please.
But you guys are so well known. You're so adored in so many different ways. I have to imagine if you guys are at, let's just pick a school, you're at
you know what, just for the sake of
Long
it,
Beach.
you're at Long Beach. Let's just say that you're in that situation. The support you guys have here is a lot different than the support there in terms of fan-wise. I imagine that makes a big difference in the terms of this topic.
A big decibel difference, definitely. Yeah.
Same for you guys?
Absolutely, yeah. Like when we say like playing in the stand is special, like it's because like I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said a big decibel difference. The
Oh,
noise,
the
ground
fan
noise.
noise. Making connection.
I don't know what that means sometimes. Yeah.
I understood it at first. I knew where
I
you were
heard
going
decimal, and I was like,
Yeah, I was like,
Not
Well,
decibel,
I
sorry.
gotta be honest. The difference, all things, the respect we have for each other, for the community, what they have for us. I mean, we've been for national teams. We've traveled around the world. We've seen how it is. But here, especially in Hawaii, the fact that not just because there's not a pro level, but the fact that the connection the community has in general, and like how respectful people are here, and the fact we're trying to do as much as we can for them to repay them for what they give us. I think that's why it's so special.
Okay, so all of that was kind of what we were going for. Cause
Can I build off of that actually?
Go, please.
So, like, I was talking to, I think it was Jackson. I was talking to Jackson about this. How like Hawaii is really cool to play for because like you represent like the entire state. Like California schools, like all like they don't get to represent like California's flag. We get to have like our own flag to like post up, and we get to sing the Hawaii Ponovi before every game, which I may note is one of my favorite parts of the games because like it's next to Rado and we just belch it.
Take a deep breath.
Do you both know it by heart at this
Of
point?
course, yeah.
Okay, good. So, more focused on this year in particular. And I'm going to ask this question, and I'm curious to know what your guys' answer is. Is this team the best team you've had in your guys' time here? Or is it the best team in this situation?
Good question.
Patrick, go first.
What do you mean by best team in this situation?
By what Colton was saying earlier about how the preseason was longer. You guys are more advanced than other teams are right now. So
I wholeheartedly believe we're the best team in the country of the available teams, but I think the best team that I've played on skill-wise would be our 2019 team.
Yeah.
We just had like weapons at every edge of the court. However you want to say it, like me, Dalton, Rado, Colton, Stein, Gage. Like
K-ball.
we all knew each other intimately. Like that connection was just like unreal. Like
Yeah, I think even Gage had kills that year.
he did.
Yeah.
First third point of BYU.
Yeah.
Head connection, yeah, showering together. Just that one brings it. No, 100% agree. 100% the skills, and I think we were skinnier that year too. To be honest,
Skinnier?
yeah, I was way skinnier.
Yeah,
that
for
year.
sure.
We were moving way faster. But no. I think that the biggest difference that I think the 2019 team was better, I think, was Stein's ability in the clutch moment.
So, off of that thought, because you both say that, all three of you say that 2019 team was special. But at the same time, you watch any sports documentary, the team that wins the big game, that wins the championship, they always say, oh, the team before us was better. The team 2 years before us was better. So, looking at that and that kind of anecdote, what was about 2019 that kept you guys from reaching the top? I know it's a tough question. I know it's a reflection one.
I'll start first. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me sit in my chair.
All right. So what was happening is we had leadership in the face of the Joe Worsley. Let's start with that. The man was taking care of everybody. He's taking care of everything. Had such a full control over the team in every situation that, like, people were quiet. People were shutting up. People were doing their job. No one said anything. I think that's why everybody was trying to be on his level. No one was on his own. Everybody was trying to be on his level. And the fact that how much they have lost prior to that season was another thing. Like, the year before, our season ends on a plane. What I mean was that the year before, that was my freshman year. we lost in the semifinal. We lost the final at the MPSF that year, and then we lost the NCAA final. And the year before was the quarterfinal of that. So many losses in so many important situations, and then it comes down to your last season. It's not whenever. It's not like pro. Oh, I might come next year again. If my body feels right. No, here in colleges you have 4 opportunities, and that's it. And when it comes down to that, and the other thing I think personally was because Joe wanted to prove he can set, because now he didn't get that many offers, and now he has to be the guy, and he leads this, and then we go on and we do 74 sets in a row, and no one can say anything. I think that was it. And then for us, especially like the year before, there were so many people, for me personally, I have to say, like, saying, oh, you should keep Stein on the right, he's not good, blah, 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 stuff like that. I took it personally. That's what I gotta say. I took it personally. If I have to be serious.
No,
about my answer.
That was a great answer, but he asked
you didn't
why we
answer the question.
failed.
Yeah, you didn't answer the question.
Yes.
What was the question?
Yeah.
Wait, what was the question?
Why did that team not reach the top?
Oh,
Why?
that was your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know you're so great, Rado.
Oh yeah. So those 3 key positions, if I have to be honest, it was they had DJ, Kyle, and Josh, and we had to respond to all those 3 in our own way. And I didn't think we responded. DJ went to another level. We stayed on our same. And
So was it a maturity thing, or you just couldn't exceed to that point, you think?
I think it was just like their home crowd maybe got in our head a little bit, and then like we didn't play our game as efficiently as we usually do. Like we were a little bit off, and like the dice just didn't roll in our favor. Like there's a lot of luck in volleyball, I think, and like we just got unlucky.
It was just a bad day.
I think it was just like wasn't our best day.
Okay. Then this year, what is it about this team that can do it?
We have now several guys that have been in that position to not just, like Rado mentioned, losing. Losing is really important because you learn a lot from that. And the reason we didn't win that 2019 final was because in that semifinal in the Big West tournament, when we had the home crowd, we were playing free, we were playing light. Like all of those regular season accolades and whatnot had been like distributed amongst, like nobody was thinking of themselves, everyone was thinking of the team at that point because there was just one thing left, and that was an NCAA championship. And when we got to that position, for many of us, it was our first time not being in the NCAA tournament, but being in a championship game. And I think that we didn't necessarily elevate the level we could have. I think we were capable of winning that game and beating that team. We just didn't on that day. And on that day, it's not necessarily about playing our best game. It's just playing better than that other team. And I think we've recognized that now, that it's not always about playing pretty and playing our best every single night. It's just about playing better than the opponent that's on the other side of the net, because we're going to be matched up against unfamiliar teams that we've only seen in video when it comes down to the NCAA tournament, because they'll be from out of conference. We won't have a physical scouting report on them. It's just going to be data and on paper, but we're going to have to respond. And I think that we have people that have lost in the most important match, obviously, and I think we've all learned from that. And I think when that moment comes, we're going to be much more comfortable and much more ready to perform. And we will be able to reach that next level.
How I want to use the word annoying. I don't know if it's the right way to put it or not, but how annoying is it that you guys are heading in this direction and you're not playing in front of your home crowd?
Oh, it's a bummer. Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. Like you just miss so many different aspects from playing at home without the fans there, right? Like obviously a prominent one is the aunties with the lays. They give you like the kiss on the cheek after the game. They give you a lay. They always have the kindest remarks. Like you could have a horrible game. You see them and you get a smile on your face no matter what, because they're so cute and they're so sweet. Right? They're just awesome, right? And then you go around in that circle and everyone's either just like, great job tonight, or we'll get them tomorrow night. We haven't heard get them tomorrow night in a while because our team's been really successful, which is good. But they're always just so supportive. They're always just great. We have just a great culture And it's just the foundation of that is our community, and just the people that support us spread so much love and aloha that it's infectious to our team and our program.
And I say this because this podcast is nowhere centered around me whatsoever. It's about you guys. But I'm going to share a quick little moment because I want.
We can make it about you all you want.
No, not
We'd
at
love
all.
to highlight you.
Okay, how do you feel about that?
Hold
How's
on.
your day?
When you guys were in the Big West Championship game, 10,300 sellout crowd. I'll admit, I come from a state and I come from a place where volleyball's not a big deal. But
Where you from?
Kentucky.
All right.
So when someone asks me, what has been the coolest thing you've done so far? Whenever I go home, I always say that night was by far the coolest thing I've experienced so far at Hawaii and how special that was. Like that just, I'm not a volleyball guy. Never have been. I've developed into one because I enjoy watching you guys play. But that night in particular, with a sellout crowd and the way that this state really supported you guys and showed out, that right there shows how difficult I imagine this year has been. It's because you know you'd have that again. You know this year you would have a crowd similar to that almost, maybe not every night, but a lot of the nights. So I imagine that really just takes away from what is already kind of a special year that you have a second chance. Is that kind of how you guys feel?
There's definitely like a part of the game missing right now, and I think it's just that like motivation from the crowd. Rich Sheriff tried to give us a little boost on that the other night.
Legend.
Yeah.
Legend.
Oh, that was awesome.
But yeah, it's just like that, like extra like little bit of energy that you can just pull from the crowd, like to go from like one situation to the next. And like, I personally am gonna miss the feeling of like getting a block and just like turning and looking at the crowd and just everything going crazy and stuff. And that's just like, oh my gosh, just right there. Like,
We've talked a lot about the last couple of years. I want to know more. This is strictly story time now between the three of you. Is memories of the last, for some of you, 5 years, other two of you, 6.
what's supposed to say it first? My freshman year.
Let it go, big fella. I want to hear.
35 years ago.
Back in my day.
So 6 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
I came in as a freshman. Felt like I was like hot shit. You know, I don't know if I want to say that, but
You know what? We're going to roll with it.
okay. I was a little confident, and I remember October 16th, riding my skateboard practice, hit a little pebble and fall, and Milan's picking me up in his car, going to the training room, and they're like, oh, you probably broke your fibula, you're out 6 weeks. I'm like, oh, you know, not the worst thing in the world. Get to the hospital, and they're like, oh, broke your leg, tore ligaments, out 12 weeks. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty bad. And then, like an idiot, started walking early than I should have, and retore it out for another 4 months. And then, so from October 16th, 11 months later, I got to play volleyball again, and that was my freshman year. But one of my favorite memories of my freshman year is he's talking about the aunties of the Lays. They have a special nickname for me. They call me Scooter. Because I had a scooter my freshman year.
Uh-huh.
And they will never forget that.
And we called him Tony Hawk.
Okay, so that comes up, freshman year memories. What feels like probably 30 years ago rather than 6.
You should invite James.
Feels like yesterday, honestly.
Does it really?
Like, time has flown by.
It
Like,
goes really quick.
it's hard to distinguish like my freshman from sophomore to junior to senior year, just from second senior to third
Third
senior.
senior. And then if you take James into the equation, it's a long timeline.
I think James was here when they built the stand.
I always say him and Dave shows you.
So, when you guys first get here, what was your memories of each other when you first met? Did you like each other? Did you not like each other?
Like, wow, that guy's huge.
Which one?
Like, Pat. When I saw Rado, he came in and Joe was setting him some balls and he was super jet lagged and couldn't speak English at all. Couldn't speak a lick of English.
No.
And I was just like, I just thought I was just really impressed, honestly, because my position that I came in was just, I wasn't like highly recruited or anything, and I walked onto the program. So when I saw these two for the first time, just like playing volleyball, I was just really impressed. I was just like, this is going to be awesome.
Let's talk about that just real quick.
Okay.
I mean, you're a local guy in a lot of ways. So you're a walk-on. You said it, not me, undersized.
Yeah.
And you walk into a program where you see, Jolly Green Giants over here. Like, what was that motivation to you? Like, how did all of that transpire for you to like develop yourself?
There was motivation, but it didn't come until the going into my fourth year. I really didn't see myself ever getting on the court or playing for this program until, probably going into my fourth year when I was just like, you know what, like I thought at that time that was going to be my senior year, and I didn't. I had redshirted already, but I didn't know if I was going to stay 5. So I kind of at that point realized like, I'm just going to give this last year everything I have and see what happens. And then I ended up getting onto the court that year. But yeah, just when you see players like these two, it's some of it's discouraging, some of it's inspiring. When you have to recognize the fact that you have a lot of ground to cover and a lot of distance to overcome in terms of just like what you have to do training. But at the end of the day, like I'm really happy for being in the position that I am now, and I'm very grateful for the process that it took to get me here.
So, on the reversal of that, when you guys came in, well known, everybody kind of knew that you guys were going to be good players. When you are coming one-on-one with a walk-on, how do you guys like? Does any of that make a difference? Like, does it? Because I think some.
I can answer that question.
Because I think fans get a misperception. Like, a walk-on is just a walk-on. They're just there for the GPA. Like, that gets tossed around.
Thank you.
That gets tossed around a lot, though. That's like a thought that goes through some people's heads. But how do you guys view someone like Colton that was a walk-on when you guys came on? Was there any difference whatsoever?
No, because I didn't know what walk-on means. That's all it was. I just didn't know what walk-on means. I didn't know what GPA is.
Okay.
Let me tell you, I had trouble the first 3 months because I literally did not understand everything they're saying.
I'm going to ask that here in a second. I want to finish this
So
topic.
I met Colton. We came in together, and
17 years ago.
oh my gosh. I met Colton for the first time in the courtyard of the freshman dorms, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
We were all sitting around a table, and Colton walks up. He's like, "Hey, I'm Colton. Like, I'm a walk-on." And I was like, I honestly thought that was just like something just like that, like local kids did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know like what it meant. And like I remember seeing him like, oh, okay, well, like I had not seen any of my teammates play yet, except for like club, and like I only knew like Dalton coming in and like Joe, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I did play Radford once. I blocked him. But like I remember going into the gym and like this kid's like jumping out of the building, and I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like our recruiting class is just nuts this year, and like from then on, like I had full confidence in our team, and like back then I feel like our leadership was like pretty good, from like Jennings and Capono and Siki sometimes.
Let's go back to Rado.
Of course.
All right, let's start with the language barrier thing.
Well, okay.
How difficult was that to overcome?
Well, if I gotta be honest, so on paper in books you learn British English, and you learn English with Bulgarian, so the communication, the pronunciation is there. And I land here, and Jennings and Ian picked me up. I think it was like 7 p.m. and then Charlie gives me a lei. At the time I didn't know where a lei is, and I was like, "Why the hell do I need flowers for?" Why is he giving me flowers? But I was like, I roll with it. Okay, that's fine. So we go to Jennings' Indian apartment and we just try to have a simple conversation. And then they ask me, I remember some sort of Ian repeated the story to me a couple months later when I actually understood what he meant. So he asked me, "Are you allergic to cats?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I have a cat at home." And he goes like, "Are you allergic to cats?" And I go like, "My name is Rado." And we just roll with it because they had a cat at the time.
Uh-huh.
You see it
Heard
in
the
the
story before.
No, what?
No, yeah. You see it at the bar because he's from the UK, right? He has British England, and Jennings is there.
He's a wanker.
And then Jennings tried really hard to have a conversation with me. And I remember it was like 7:30, 8 p.m. And he asked me a couple questions. Like the conversation wasn't going anywhere. And he just go, "All right, dude, I'm just tired. I'm just gonna go to bed." And so he went in his room. Like he didn't even try
Is
anymore.
that Jennings?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
sounds
was
like
like-
Jennings.
I was like, damn, he's going to bed real early because it was like 7:30. And then he was like, dude, I didn't want to talk to you anymore.
What was it? Just going to class? Was it being around teammates? Was there actually something set up to help you adapt better and learn the language easier? Like how did Milan?
Milan. I think.
Oh,
I
wow.
think his English was perfect at the time.
Didn't
He
you
was
have,
the easiest
didn't you have
one.
like a Saturday English class?
Yeah, I had a class. I'm sorry, math class. It wasn't an English class, but I had like 3 English classes during the week, so that helped a lot with my writing. I still have some essays from my freshman year. My name Rado. I am from Bulgaria. Like those simple sentences. I'm just laughing at myself.
Well,
Yeah, Milan. Thank God.
Well, let's talk about Milan then. So, like, he made a big difference there. He is another figure here that is beloved just because of his passion. What's it like having him as a coach?
You better be able to handle jokes.
Yeah.
He jokes around. He tries to make sure that everybody's positive. Everybody's trying to have fun and just enjoy the game. He has a tremendous amount of knowledge. You cannot imagine. None of you guys here can imagine how much respect the Europeans have for him. He's built bigger than Dave Shojiel. Bigger than Dave Shoji, James Nassasiadis. Bigger than
What about you guys?
No.
What are your relationships with Milan?
Definitely. When I spoke about pressure earlier, he's incredible at alleviating that. He makes you feel free and just light, especially when you play. Like he helps you with just whatever his instructions are. He makes them extremely clear, very simple, like easy for you to follow, and he sees the game so well that when you do typically like follow his observations and do your best to execute them, you find yourself in successful positions just because he's so knowledgeable of the game and he's always making jokes, so it's really hard not to just like be in an extremely serious moment, like you give up an ace or you just get blocked and he says something to you and you just can't help laugh. Like just thinking of him, sometimes it's going to just put a smile on your face, and he just brings, like you said, the passion and the energy and just the love. You know, his pregame hugs, they get you through the night. They get you through the night.
Any good Milan stories?
I have a good story. So I didn't know Milan that well, and I remember I like went to like an open gym with like his son Siki, and like we played, and then Milan is talking to me at practice one time, and like he stops practice and is like we're going over like blocking movements, and he's like Patrick, Siki tells me you are one big horse. I'm like, horse? He's like, yeah, Clydesdale. And I'm like, and that was it. And I was like, oh, okay, like I'm a horse. Sounds good. Does that mean something?
It means you're a stud.
horse.
It means you're awesome.
Yeah.
A machine.
Just a
Alright,
a
cool.
beast, basically.
Any good Charlie stories?
Oh, wow. Charlie stories. Yeah. If I think about it, so I'm famous in the country that I cannot play defense. That is just how I get more digs.
More digs than Gage.
Yeah, I get more digs. How is that possible? I don't know. Probably because Gage, just yeah. So it comes to Bulgaria, and at the time I'm nervous because when it comes to watching live, and I have to show that I can play volleyball. And so I pepper with the libero. He walks in, and I'm like, okay, listen up, what we're gonna do. I gotta show I can play defense, that I can dive and stuff like that. We're gonna start pepper, and on the second swing, you're gonna tip, I'm gonna dive, and I get it, okay? He was like, perfect, I got you. But like, he misheard, so he heard this third time. So I hit, he hits. Second time he about to hit. I take another step to dive, but him, instead of tipping, he hits the ball straight to my head, and the way I'm going forward, and I just lay back. I'm on the ground,
I didn't hear this one
like
either.
blinking my eyes.
Tell us more stories.
Charlie knocked you out.
Not Charlie, no, our libero.
Oh, libero.
And I turn around.
I thought
because
Charlie was hitting at you.
Yeah, no, Charlie was in the gym watching.
No.
And I just turned to him, thank God he didn't look at me. And he was like,
Just because the 2 thumbs up, I'm glad we're doing video right now.
yeah. No, and the other thing, the same night, so we go to a restaurant, my family and everything, and I remember him talking so much about the volleyball here, and then I'm thinking to myself, I don't understand a word he's saying. Nothing. Like, he was talking about the meal plans, he was talking about volleyball, he was talking about the arena, about that stuff. But I'm like, I don't understand anything. He was talking about credits and stuff like that. And I remember the way he talks, I just reached it, I shook his hand, I'm coming. And that was it. That was the recruiting process.
I think just the one that's prominently in my brain is definitely we took a team trip to Boomers, which is
It's actually a good story.
and it's like a mini golf, arcade, and go-kart racing track. And Charlie's a competitor. He loves competition. He thrives in it. And there was something about this one go-kart
Go-kart
number 3 that he just fell in love with. And he would run, he'd sprint to it. Every time we'd start a new race, he'd sprint to that car because he was sure it was the fastest. And he would just be like banging into players, like just going on the track. Like he was not backing down on the go-kart track at all. It was pretty funny.
When I brought up that question, I did not expect to hear Charlie Wade on a go-kart story.
Yeah.
Oh my. And Milan was trying to slow you down. He
Yeah.
was trying to get people to slow down.
Milan tried to get all of us to be in a line as we were going around. So he couldn't pass us.
Yeah.
Pat and Rado, when we first sat down, before we turned the cameras on, before we turned the mic on, you all were ready to tell a story. I was like, hold on. I want to wait. I want this to be safe. I want the reaction to be genuine. So apparently, when you both first met each other, in the first little bit, you didn't like each other.
Oh, I loved Rado. Rado hated me.
Oh, that's okay. That's it. Okay. Why did you hate Pat?
What you hate?
Yeah, your perspective. Let's hear it.
Because there was this question that Patrick asks all the foreigners is,
I ain't gonna throw all the fires in. But
like, he asked, do you have running water in Bulgaria? As a joke. And I was like, you were, I was about to say something with camera on. I was like, you were,
Bleep.
like, beep. You have to say what I actually was about to say. And yeah, it feels like, if you want to be that guy, then I hate you right now, whatsoever. And then, yeah.
How long did it take before you got over that? When you actually got to know Pat?
Until I realized that our humor is on the same level.
Yeah.
The worst thing is that I don't think anyone around is on the same level as we are, so that's why I think we got so close after that.
Because I think there is always this thing with teams, because I think it's the public perception. Everybody loves everybody. Everybody is always going to get along. But that's not necessarily true all the time. There are going to be squabbles. Have you guys seen much of that in your time here? Like where you had disagreements or where things kind of went in the wrong direction?
Was it? What is it saying? Outplayed the fifth? Was it?
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, played the fifth.
Well, yeah, every team has squabbles, and like we're all competitive. We're all like we play a competitive sport, and we all have to sit in the locker room together after. And so the thing I think our team is like pretty good at most of the time was having that attitude in the gym and having an attitude outside of the gym. One person I think is famous for that is Dalton. Being extremely competitive inside the gym, but as soon as he steps out, he's just joking around. Like such a good teammate.
And see, that's the reason why I asked the question. I wasn't trying to get dirt. I was trying to ask that question.
Really?
Well, we can. But the reason why I asked that question is because you have those squabbles, but then just to kind of like make everything form, in order to get past that to be very good, you have to have good leadership, which is the roles you guys are in now. So you look at those experiences and what you see with this team, is it in a kind of perfect harmony right now of where everybody does get along? And that's what's really setting the tone and making a difference. That you have very few squabbles, but if you do, then you know how to handle them.
I think we all get along.
Yeah, this team gets along really well.
I don't think that has been a problem. I mean, in the nature of the sport, everybody's competitive, everybody wants to win, and there's going to be situations that just trigger some people. And the moment we're just gonna explode, but that's it. Like Patrick said, the moment we step off the court, we're smart people, we respect each other. We know that we have the same goal, so that's it. I mean, with Dalton, like I spoke about Dalton, my sophomore year, we were playing before even the full starts, and we were playing in the stand. And it was just like open gym and something, and I remember I'm on the depot and I hit the ball out, and I asked him, I was like, I didn't ask him, okay, I was like, you netted. And he was like, no, I didn't. And I was like, no, you netted. He was like, no, I didn't. And then he just gives me that deadlock for the rest of the game. And like the game is done and we're over it, and then he just comes up to me like, don't you ever ask me again if I net or not, okay? I'll tell you, I'll say if I know. And I'm just like deadlock, and I'm just, okay. I was like, don't show it. Just like stuff like that. I was like, okay. I mean, it's being.
But that's being
Is that it?
competitive,
No.
though.
I was like, oh, okay.
But that's
not how that story ended. Like I thought, but
No, I'm just saying like leadership. And in terms of leadership, because I didn't take it that serious the first few years, being as a leader, because that was someone else. My freshman year, I was making fun of Jennings, and then I had to have a conversation with him too. Like, and then I'm in the shoes right now, and I'm like, I hope no one does stuff like that.
Yeah, Rado does really good with post-game stretches and then pre-post practice stretches. He's our guy.
Take it very
He's
seriously.
our guy for that. He takes the stretching seriously.
How do you mean?
no talking.
No
Oh,
talking.
really?
Yeah.
There's no BSing during the stretch. But that's Rado's time. He's going to tell
Colton
you
has
what
the
to do.
pass.
The only one's
He's gonna-
the only one's allowed to BS is me and Colton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just sitting there, like, sitting cross-legged, like, daydreaming about something.
It's like, I wonder what we're having for dinner.
I'm like,
Why
Rado's like drill sergeant. Everybody else. It's so funny.
Because like there's all these elements people just don't know that goes into a team, that goes into the structure of program. And because when we had Charlie on the podcast, he talked about setting like that tone. Like there is a business type to it, but there's also the gelling of personalities to make sure that it's not him and Milan leading by example. It's leaders on the team, the Joes, the Pats, the Coltons, the Rados. So when you take all that in consideration and you look at this year, what is going to make the difference? And you've already talked about a little bit about how, we've been there before. But what's going to make the difference, the three of you as a core, that's going to push you over the edge this year?
What makes us successful this year is just like the trust I have in these two, and like the trust I have in my team. Like we had a long off season, and I know what our team has. I know what we can do, and like I have complete trust in our passers to like get the balls to the net. And I have complete trust in Jacob and Brett and basically all the setters that like if I'm available, I know they're gonna try and give me the ball, and like it's just that like trust and like believing in each other. Like if we lose the first set, I'm not worried at all. Like 32-30 in the second set, not worried at all. Like I know that Rado's gonna perform, Colton's gonna perform. Like it's just that trust we have in each other.
Yeah, this team definitely, everybody wants there's no fear in embracing the opportunities that we're presented with. It's like, at sometimes late in the set, sometimes I remember when I was first kind of getting onto the court, it was like, I hope I don't set this ball and underperform. I hope I don't mess up. I hope this ball goes to, Rado or Pat, or I pray I can pass this ball up to the net so that it doesn't have to come my way, because just like the nervousness and the lack of experience at that point. But now it's like I feel that we have, even Gage at times wants the ball. He wants to get set the A ball. We always joke about that, but it's pretty funny because I think there's
Super
six
high
rotations.
efficiency on it.
There's 6 rotations. Everyone wants the ball at any moment. It doesn't matter if you're in your second year, if you're a fourth year freshman, if you're a 6th year senior. Like, everybody wants the ball. Everybody's willing and ready to perform at any given moment. And I think that's what separates us, is that everyone at their respective positions on this team and the depth that we've developed is there.